Imagine lying in bed, drifting off to sleep, when suddenly, from your closed wardrobe, you hear a woman's laughter. You check, it's empty, but every night the laughter comes back, clearer, louder, until one day you open the wardrobe and find a blood-stained message. You're next. If you're brave enough to hear the full story, stay with me. I first heard it at exactly 2:37 a.m. A faint, soft giggle. Not loud, not forced, just barely audible, curling through the suffocating silence of my bedroom like a whisper that wasn't meant to be heard. I froze. My eyes darted toward the ceiling, then the corners of the room, scanning for anything that could explain it. The street outside was empty, drowned in the eerie glow of flickering streetlights. My window? Shut tight. My bedroom door? Locked just as I had left it. That left only one possibility: the wardrobe. The realization sent a chill down my spine. I had never thought much about the large, antique wardrobe in the corner of my room, but tonight it felt different. It felt wrong. I slid out of bed slowly, my bare feet pressing against the cold wooden floor. With each step toward the wardrobe, the giggle faded. Or maybe it was retreating. I swallowed hard, gripping the handle. One deep breath. Then I pulled the door open. Darkness. Nothing but empty shelves, undisturbed clothes, and the scent of aged wood. I stared into the space, heart hammering, waiting for something to happen. But the room remained still. Quiet. Too quiet. Maybe I was imagining things. I closed the wardrobe, stepped back, and climbed into bed, forcing myself to brush off the uneasy feeling. But as I pulled the covers over me, I noticed something odd. The air in the room had changed. It felt thicker, heavier, like I wasn't alone anymore. And just as I shut my eyes, convinced it was all in my head, I heard it again. Closer this time. A giggle. Right next to my bed. I barely slept after the first night. Every time I shut my eyes, I kept replaying the moment. The faint giggle, the uneasy silence, the way the air in my room felt heavier after I heard it. Maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe I was overthinking. But when the clock struck 2:37 a.m. again, I knew the truth. It wasn't in my head. The laughter returned. But this time, it was louder. Not sharp, not distorted. Just a quiet, playful giggle, like someone hiding just out of sight, watching me, waiting for me to notice them. I gripped the blanket tightly, listening as the sound curled through the room, floating toward me like a breeze that wasn't supposed to exist indoors. It came from the wardrobe, again. I forced myself to breathe steadily. The door was closed. Nothing could have gotten inside since yesterday. But the laughter was real. I slowly reached for my phone, my fingers trembling as I turned on the flashlight. A dim, white glow spread across the walls, cutting through the darkness. The wardrobe stood still in the corner. I gathered every ounce of courage, climbed out of bed, and stepped toward it, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then I heard a knock, software deliberate. From inside the wardrobe, and just like last night, the air shifted again. I wasn't alone. The knock had been soft, too light to be accidental, too deliberate to ignore. I stood frozen, my breath shallow, fingers gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. The wardrobe was closed, but something inside had moved. For a long moment, I didn't dare make a sound. The silence felt thicker, pressing against my skin, stretching the time between each heartbeat. Then, footsteps, slow, rhythmic, coming from inside the wardrobe. I stepped back instinctively, my mind racing for an explanation. It wasn't possible. Nothing could fit inside. No hidden compartments, no gaps in the back panel, just shelves and hanging clothes. Yet I could hear it. A slow, deliberate pacing, as if someone was walking in circles inside the wooden frame. I turned on my phone's recording. If something was happening, I needed proof. The footsteps continued until exactly 3:12 a.m. Then they stopped abruptly. No fading, no retreating, just gone. I stayed awake until dawn, refusing to move, refusing to close my eyes. When the sun finally rose, I checked the recording. My stomach twisted in confusion. The entire night's footage was silent. No footsteps, no knocking, as if none of it had ever happened. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the footsteps again. Slow, measured, pacing behind the wardrobe door. And even though the recording from my phone captured nothing, I knew what I had heard. I had to know the truth. The following night, I decided to leave the wardrobe wide open. I thought maybe, just maybe, the sound wouldn't return if there was nothing to hide inside. I was wrong. At 2:30 a.m., the giggling changed. It wasn't soft anymore. It was closer. And then, it whispered my name. I jerked upright, my breath coming in short gasps. The wardrobe slammed shut on its own. I scrambled backward, staring at the closed doors, my heartbeat hammering against my ribs. Then, something fluttered to the ground from the gap between the wardrobe's doors. A piece of paper, old, yellowed, its edges curled with age. With shaking fingers, I picked it up. The words scratched onto the paper were simple. Do not listen to her. And beneath it, a second line. She already knows you can hear her. The warning haunted me. Do not listen to her. Who was she? The voice? The laughter? The presence that had begun whispering my name? That night, I decided I wouldn't interact. I wouldn't check the wardrobe. I wouldn't respond. I would just watch, observe without reacting. But something changed. The room itself felt different. I felt it the moment I glanced at the mirror above my dresser. At first, my reflection was normal, just me staring back. Then, in the corner of the mirror, something shifted. At first it was faint, like a smudge, a trick of the light. But as I stared, it grew clearer. A figure, a woman, standing in the reflection. She wasn't in the room. She was only inside the mirror. Her face was half hidden, her features blurred except for her lips, curled into a grin that didn't belong to her. I swallowed hard, refusing to blink. Then she moved slightly closer, without shifting, without walking, just closer. I blinked, and she was gone. But in the distance, the wardrobe door creaked open. I didn't check the wardrobe. I didn't look at the mirror again. I spent the next day avoiding my room, convincing myself that whatever was happening, I could ignore it. But that night, the laughter changed. It wasn't playful anymore. It was distorted, cracked, filled with something dark and unnatural. It came from every corner of the room, whispering, echoing, wrapping around me until I couldn't tell where it was coming from anymore. Then, a scraping sound, wood against wood. I forced myself to turn toward the wardrobe. My stomach dropped. The doors had opened on their own. Inside, my clothes looked untouched, just as I had left them. But on the inner panel of the door, a message was smeared across the wood, written in blood. You're next. I couldn't sleep. The blood-stained message was still etched into my mind. You're next. I spent the day researching supernatural occurrences, haunted objects, anything that could explain what was happening. But nothing felt right. So that night, I did something different. I searched the wardrobe. Not just a quick glance. I felt along every surface, searching for hidden compartments, markings, anything unusual. And then, near the bottom panel, I found it. A name, carved deep into the old wood, barely visible beneath peeling paint. Ayla. I whispered it aloud. And the moment I did, the laughter stopped completely. But the silence felt worse. Saying the name felt wrong the moment it left my lips. The silence that followed wasn't just absence of sound. It was heavy, pressing against my chest, thick like the air had been altered. And then, the wardrobe door creaked open on its own. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. Inside, my clothes were still there, untouched. But something was different. The inside of the wardrobe felt deeper, as if space itself had stretched beyond its normal limits. A chill ran down my spine. I reached forward, brushing my fingers against the back panel. It was cold. Colder than wood should ever be. That's when I saw it, faint writing etched into the wood beneath my fingertips. A single sentence, "She never left." And just as I registered the words, the wardrobe slammed shut. There was no way to undo what had just happened. I had spoken Ayla's name. I had seen the writing. She never left. And now I knew. I had only two choices. Destroy the wardrobe, or face whatever was inside. A sinking feeling twisted my gut. If I ignored it, if I pretended none of this was real, would it end? Or would I just disappear? Just like whoever wrote that warning. I grabbed the wardrobe doors, pulling them open, forcing myself to look inside. Nothing moved. The space was as normal as ever. But I felt it. The cold, the weight, the presence. You already know me. The voice wasn't behind the wood anymore. It was right behind me. I couldn't turn around. The voice was right behind me, breathing against my neck, speaking words that shouldn't exist. You already know me. Number I didn't. Or maybe I did. The air grew heavier, pressing against my chest, making my heartbeat pound violently in my ears. I squeezed my eyes shut. I refused to look. You heard me first at 2:37 a.m. You opened the wardrobe. You whispered my name. I felt the floor tilt under me. The walls seemed to stretch, moving subtly, as if the room itself was pulsing like a living thing. Then, soft fingers brushed against my arm. I spun around, and there she was, standing beside me, smiling. She had no eyes, just empty sockets that curved upward at the edges, as if she were permanently grinning. Her laughter echoed, not from her mouth, but from every corner of the room. And suddenly, I understood. She wasn't trying to scare me. She had always been here. She was just waiting for me to remember. And now, I'd never forget her.